That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 80. It is Sunday, January 22nd, 2017. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, none of which we're going to talk about today because we're talking pro wrestling. I'm one half of your host, Dave Brown. I'm joined with my good friend, Floyd Johnson Jr. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Just happy this new year, new wrestling. We're on the road to WrestleMania and excited to talk about that.
Yes, that we are. And so this week, unfortunately, I was ridiculously busy. My folks are in town. And so the only thing I got to watch is NXT. But Floyd's going to give us a breakdown of all the shows of the week, and I'll throw in my 2 cents about NXT. There are some other topics we're going to talk about, and we have a new segment. We're going to debut the Around the Ring Hall of Fame. So that'll be kind of fun, and I'll let Floyd explain what that is later. Before we jump into that, though, I got to talk about something I did last night. So my folks are in town, and they are big PBR, not Pabst Blue Ribbon, professional bull riding fans. And so they came up here, and one of the main reasons or excuses they used for this trip is there's a big event. It's like the third event of the season for this bull riding stuff. Was at the Chesapeake Arena because Oklahoma's big for bull riding. Not surprising, really. And so we went last night, and it was interesting. This is the first time I'd been in the Chesapeake Arena. I got to say that place is amazing. It was great. It was trashed by the time we left because people were gross. But man, it was just pristine when we walked in there. You've been, I'm assuming, to the Chesapeake Arena a number of times. I'm guessing. Yeah,
somewhere in the 80s.
Jesus, wow! Because
I went to all. What was it? It was like 50 Thunder games one season. I've been to every wrestling event in the Chesapeake. I've been to like 6 or 7 concerts there.
Wow. Now, is it, as far as for wrestling, is it a better location than the Cox Convention Center across the street?
Let me just say, Cox Convention Center had no bad seats. It was like, even when you were high up, you could still see the ring really cool. I've been in the 300s for wrestling because I was visiting a friend up there because, I don't roll like that. But, and I was like, I didn't like it. But, yeah, it's a great place to watch wrestling. I mean, especially when it's packed, it can get as loud as any arena just because, it's made for basketball, so the sound holds really well. So, like, one of the events I went to, it was when CM Punk cashed in. That was probably the loudest I heard that building in a non-basketball sense.
Wow. Oh, I bet that was fun. Was that because he was Money in the Bank holder twice, right?
Yeah, it was his first cash in. And they did nothing to lead it up. Batista beat up Edge, and then CM Punk came in and cashed it in.
That's awesome. I bet that was a lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah, I've never been to bull riding. I don't know. I know more about bull riding this morning than I did yesterday, and we're actually going to round 2 this afternoon. It is, I gotta say, how these guys aren't getting dislocated shoulders every single time they step on these bulls, I don't know. And it's funny, the commentators, his commentary is actually broadcast throughout the whole thing. So everyone hears it. So unlike at a wrestling event, when you're not hearing Michael Cole or JBL or whoever talking over the loudspeakers. So that was interesting. But they talk about, all the hard work and the men are in control of the bulls and blah, blah, blah. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm thinking, the only thing that happens as soon as that gate opens is the guys going, oh, shit, gotta hold on, oh, shit. And it's... and then you can't, like, with the other hand, the hand that's not holding the rope, you can't touch yourself or the bull with that hand. So if you're ever watching, that's why their hands are flailing all over and looks like they're frantically trying to not touch anything. but it was funny because we are not rednecks in my family at all. Not that there's anything wrong with being redneck or being, country folk or cowboys, or nothing wrong with that at all. If that is your thing, you be you. But we walk in there, and my daughter says to me, she's like, "Oh my God, this is the most Oklahoma thing I've ever done."
It is. I mean, you can't get much more Oklahoma than that. And I mean, the stuff, I go to pro wrestling, so that's pretty Oklahoma. So, I know a lot more accepted than it used to be. So, rodeo, there's a movie called 8 Seconds with Luke Perry. And there was another movie that was one of those Nicholas Sparks type romantic movies. That is my complete knowledge of rodeo.
Well, what's interesting is, so the PBR circuit is just bull riding. It's not the rest of the rodeo. And this is a whole thing that started in the 90s. And there was this group of like 26 bull riders from the rodeo circuit. And they got together and they figured, if this is the most popular thing in the rodeo, why don't we just do this? And they each invested $1,000 and started PBR, and they now tour the country. They've got a good half of the riders there were from other countries. There's professional bull riding in Canada, down in South America, in Australia. Who would have thought Australia? But they
are quite country. I mean, like country music and all that stuff's big in Australia. They are more of the Old West.
And that does in a lot of ways make sense. I when I think of Australia, I think of kind of the beach and surfing. So it's probably this strange dichotomy of you got your beach surf culture, and then everywhere else you've got the country and Western culture.
See, I think Crocodile Dundee.
Oh yeah, and the Crocodile Hunter. That guy was awesome.
Yeah. I think of people like that.
Rest in peace, sir.
They're basically Australian rednecks.
Well, it was interesting as I'm sitting in here and I'm kind of watching, I'm looking at the arena, and honestly, I'm thinking to myself, okay, what would this be like watching a wrestling event? And we had real good seats. We were in section 105, section row E or something. I mean, we were like 6 rows back as from the front row. So we were real close. But I kept thinking, what's this like for wrestling? And then I was looking around at the crowd, and people often associate wrestling fans, when they picture wrestling fans in mainstream culture, I think there's still that, almost for lack of a better term, stigma that we have from the 80s when it was just utter white trash.
Yes.
I mean, you watch any episode of World Class Championship Wrestling, and that is white trash on parade. God love those people. I'm not trying to offend them. But now you look at wrestling, and it's mostly nerds. Nerds of different varieties.
Well, it has evolved.
It has.
Let's say there are professionals that watch wrestling. There are still the same people that you kind of shake your head at that watch wrestling, that watched it in the 80s. It's just we've all gotten older, and we've grown up with the more accepting comic book culture. And you do realize, when honestly looked at, wrestling is a real life comic book show.
It really is. It really is. But that was my evening, and that's going to be my afternoon today. It was fascinating. We apparently even have even better seats. The thing that really blew me away, though, is when my dad told me how much he paid for the tickets for the 2 days for the 5 of us. $1,200 for the whole thing.
Yeah. That's how much I paid for 2 WrestleMania tickets last year. So
sweet Mamma Mia, to quote Mr. Mauro Ranallo. I'm like, that's like, half my month's salary? That just blew me away.
My first WrestleMania, and this was WrestleMania 19. I spent $750 on my ticket. So.
Now, was that box office price, or was that after the fact scalp?
My friend sold it to me. That was the box office price. That was 9th row.
Wow. My God.
Still the closest I've ever sit at a WrestleMania. Because now, if you want to sit 9th row, you're ponying up $2,000.
Oh, And I could definitely see from where we were sitting, it was on an elevated part. I suspect that unless you were literally front row at a wrestling event, you're probably going to have you're going to see much better from where we were than you would on the floor.
If you ever see my tickets posted, when I go to wrestling events, it is always in the hundreds now. Because that ninth row WrestleMania, while it was one of the best memories I ever had, I didn't see a lot of the show. Because anytime I would stand up, the ushers would make me sit down. So anything that happened on the other side of the ring, I didn't see. I honestly think they're like the worst seats in the house.
Yeah, probably with the exception of like the first and maybe second row.
Yeah.
Which Mania was that, by the way?
19. It was Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar.
Oh, wow.
Where Brock almost broke his neck doing the shooting star press.
You got to see that live. That's awesome.
I saw that live and thought that man was dead because he landed right on his head. But the amount of muscle that he had on his neck completely protected him. So all he had was a concussion.
Yep. Yeah, because had Billy Kidman done that, who also used to use the shooting star press a lot, he would have died. He snapped the neck over. You know, this is a great segue. Speaking of Kurt Angle, guess who was nominated to enter the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yes, and I'm very excited to talk about that because Kurt Angle, one of my favorite wrestlers, because he successfully made the transition from amateur wrestling and to WWE, and he was way more entertaining than he was good in the ring, which was impressive. It's like he took to the business like a fish into water, and it is what it is. He is one of the most. I think he definitely deserves it, and I'm very appreciative of the Hall of Fame. I'm very appreciative that they were able to work out their differences with Kurt Angle and get him in there.
Yeah, because it sounds like the story I heard, and this was based on stuff I read earlier in the week, was essentially Kurt got this call out of the middle of nowhere from Triple H saying, "Hey, we're putting you in the Hall of Fame this year," and he was like, "Wait, what?"
And they did it that day because Kurt Angle, as much as he's a great wrestler, he loves to spoil crap. He loves to tell everybody things are happening way before anyone's ready for them to know. So, they had to keep him in the dark so he wouldn't spoil it.
That makes sense. If you've got loose lips, man, you gotta keep a tight control on that. So now Kurt Angle is one of those wrestlers who, admittedly, he had his big run, his big stride during those years I wasn't watching. So I've just seen clips here and there, matches here and there.
Yeah, have you ever watched the series with him and Shane?
No.
If you watch that series, and I'm horrible with years, but if you Google it anytime, Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon, they put on some pretty amazing matches.
That's what I've heard. I've seen parts of the street fight, obviously, because that's the most famous one.
They put on some amazing matches. That was Shane. All due respect to RVD, Shane McMahon will always be Mr. Pay-Per-View. Because every time he was in a match, it was the best match on the card. He had very few, if not any, bad matches, and the reason being is that he is this complete daredevil that has absolutely no fear.
And it's fascinating that he, speaking of Shane McMahon, that he is actually able to do as much in the ring, considering from all accounts he's never really been professionally trained.
Let me just say, yes, he has.
Oh, he has, okay.
I mean, he was a referee. He's been around the business. He is always trained. He has always been trained. Vince is one of those people that, unless he's going to make a ton of money, will never let anyone in his ring that's not trained.
Well, that's good. I learned something new today. So, now you, since you're a big Kurt Angle fan, if you had to pick out his, say, 2 or 3 best matches, or the ones that people should really go back and look if they're not familiar with his work, and it can be WWE, it can be TNA, it can be whatever. What would you say?
He had a series of matches with Chris Benoit that ended in an Iron Man match. You would definitely want to go ahead and watch that if you could. They did almost like a 7-man series, but his feud with Chris Benoit was pretty amazing. The Shane McMahon feud, any match with him and Brock Lesnar, because at the time, that was what Shane wanted to go to. He wanted to go more to a MMA style wrestling matches, and they definitely had those. He had some great matches with Samoa Joe and TNA. Anything with Kurt Angle and AJ Styles was off the chain. I mean, those would be that's his in ring. If you're going out of ring, watch all the stuff with Stone Cold. When Stone Cold kind of went heel and was part of the alliance or whatever. When they were on the same side, then they were going at each other. It was great. I mean, his whole career has been, when he went to TNA, it definitely revived his career because you still think he had some in there. And the fact is, he was doing most of that stuff really, really, really on drugs, according to him. So that's even more impressive.
Do you think he's going to step in the ring again in WWE?
I think he'll be a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble and lose. I don't think he's going to actually wrestle a singles match, but we'll see. But I don't think he will.
Who would you like to see him kind of face off against in the Rumble?
Honestly, I don't know if they'll be in it, but I would love to see an awkward kind of stare down with Kurt Angle and American Alpha.
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
They're basically his gimmick.
Yeah, and now you wonder if we're still going to get people, singing to Chad Gable, Kurt Angle's music, but saying it Gable instead. I love that. Granted, that hasn't really happened on SmackDown. So now,
I would like them to do a thing where Kurt Angle, not like a team angle, but he's really good on the mic and really good around the stage. If he could do some type of stuff where he's like managing them for a little while, that would be cool.
That would be, yeah. Now he once the brand split happened, he was one of the guys that went to SmackDown, correct?
Yes.
Wasn't he part of the SmackDown 6?
Yes, he was.
Okay. So do you think it was... I know they did the announcement on Raw. Do you think it should have been on SmackDown, or do you think Raw was the place to do it?
Raw was the place. Raw's going to be the place. They always do the announcement on Raw, and then they kind of drive it home on SmackDown. They've always done it that way. I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but it's just kind of like Raw's the big show. You put it on Raw. It was kind of cool. I would like, now that you bring it up, I didn't even think of that. I would like to see some of the SmackDown. If, let's say Christian gets in, they should do it maybe on SmackDown.
So, which brings up the next question: who else do you think is going in this year?
I've heard a list. I've seen Teddy Long contributions to wrestling. I'm okay with him. I've seen Beth Phoenix. I mean, that star shined really bright for the women's careers are shorter than men's careers now, so right. I could see her going in. My big, you can kind of segue into the new segment with this, but my big thing is that the WWE Hall of Fame, maybe I take it too seriously. No, there's no maybe. I absolutely take it too seriously, and I think the Hall of Fame should be the elite of the elite. And I am just so tired of just people that are just good friends with Vince or know someone that's good friends with Vince getting in, and it's ridiculous. So I'm really, yeah.
So you're not a fan of Coco Beware being in the Hall of Fame?
Oh my God, that is. I mean, now that they've added Godfather and Rikishi, I actually feel the Coco is more legitimized because apparently you only just, as long as you had a long career, you were a Hall of Famer. But as far as it makes more sense now, but I really, those three and Jacqueline Moore, just burned me on the inside because none of them should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know a few other names I've heard floated around. DDP, who definitely belongs in there, but I almost think he should headline a year. But he's not headlining when Kurt Angle's in there.
DDP, I believe, because he did carry WCW. In my Hall of Fame world, he would be a borderline guy. That's how selective I want to be.
Wow. See, I would. To me, DDP's a given. I mean, he was
a main eventer. He was WCW and everything. But I was just trying to say, I just wanted people to think I want the elite in there. And he was a main eventer. You know, he had his literally like 2-year run in WCW where he was a head guy. And I will, but in my world, in my Hall of Fame world, he would get in, but like barely.
Man, your Hall of Fame is like tighter than the Wrestling Observer's Hall of Fame. Damn.
Oh, my Hall of Fame is tight. I mean, my Hall of Fame is when you get in, you cry because it's actually, that means you were something in this business. Like me and our friend Jason were talking last night, and we did a list of about 8, and Daniel Bryan and Kane didn't get in.
Wow.
So it was just you had to leave 3 off, and I was like, they wouldn't have got in.
Man, yeah. See, I mean, to me, I don't know. I think the Hall of Fame's important, but I don't see it as the best of the utter best. Well, I shouldn't say that. I do. It's hard to explain. I'm not really super loosey-goosey, but I'm also not as hardcore about it as you are.
Yeah, it's just 30 years of wrestling. I mean, it has to be wings. Like, to me, I love Arn Anderson. Everybody knows how I feel about Arn Anderson. The only way he would get in my Hall of Fame is as a member of the Horsemen.
And interestingly, he and Tully Blanchard are on the ballot for the Observer Hall of Fame this year, but it's those two with J.J. Dillon as the Brainbusters.
Yes.
Which is odd because they, as amazing as they are as a tag team, they really weren't a tag team for all that awful long as just them as a unit. But I would, just that's interesting that you bring that up. Now, a couple other names that have been floated around. I've heard, there's been talk, and I think it's more just fans thinking it's time, talking about Vader. And I really, Vader needs to go in. And
see, now let me tell you, he would be in my international wing. Because in WCW, in the WWF, in WCW, he was the champion doing a very, very lean time for WCW. Like, he was it. Now, he was the guy that put over Ron Simmons for the world title. Much appreciated for that. But yeah, he would definitely be a very borderline guy.
Okay. Another name that I've heard floated around is IRS, Erwin R. Shyster. Which
never would get in my Hall of Fame.
See, I think Mike Rotunda belongs in the Hall of Fame. Not that shitty-ass gimmick Erwin R. Shyster.
Yeah.
Because Mike Rotunda, his entire career, and if he goes in, it needs to be for his entire career.
Yeah.
Hell, that stupid Hulk Hogan song was written for a tag team that was supposed to be Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham. And they were like, deuces, we're out. And so they gave that song to Hogan.
Press, man.
Yeah.
That's what you call a friendship leading to a lot of different things as far as IRS. Hey, marry my sister.
Yeah.
your sons are going to be like amazing.
Yeah. So he absolutely, I mean, as much, if Rikishi's in there, and Rikishi should have gone in under his real name. And I'm a big believer in, you go in the Hall of Fame, you either go in, if you have a gimmick name that has been with you your entire career, aka a Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, that kind of thing, you go in. When you go in, you need to go in on whatever name you held the longest, or your actual real name. So, for example, Alundra Blaze should have gone in as Medusa. Medusa.
Well, they definitely shouted out Medusa a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I do understand what you're saying.
But yeah, Mike Rotunda had a great career, and I remember when he showed back up in WWE doing the whole IRS thing. I was pissed. I was like, "That's Mike Rotunda. What are you doing? Do you think we're stupid? We know who this guy is." I mean, it's not that the gimmick itself is fine, but he could have just still gone by a name like I'm the Taxman Mike Rotunda or something like that.
Yeah, then he went to WCW with the same gimmick with like VK Wall Street or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was Michael Wall Street for a while, and then it was something else, and it was also equally lame. That was just kind of like when Big Boss Man went back to WCW after being the Big Boss Man, and he kind of still was the Big Boss Man without being the Big Boss Man. He didn't go to his like his UFW gimmick.
Big Bubba Rogers.
Right. I think he kind of, it was like a cross between Big Bubba and Big Boss Man. But that was during a period where WCW was desperate to, hey, let's just take WWE guys and reuse them because we don't know what we're doing. And it ended up working with the NWO. But so let's since we're on the topic of Hall of Fames, and do we need to start like a spreadsheet or something to keep this? Because
I will definitely keep the list on my page.
Okay,
and then we can definitely put this out. But I'm very excited about this. This came from an idea from Noel and Daniel Rube, two of my close wrestling friends. We were kind of in a discussion over wrestling, and I said, you know what? we're gonna have our own Hall of Fame where I can be super picky on who gets in.
Okay. And so tell everyone here the breakdown of how this segment is going to work each week.
All right, the Around the Ring Hall of Fame. I am going to, through the week, me and Dave are going to nominate people, and we'll each nominate one, and then we'll discuss whether we think they should get in. Honestly, I figure the first weeks are going to be gimmies. I'm not going to throw any names out there because I want them to be surprises, but I'm pretty sure the first ones are going to be gimmies. And then we're going to get into the more borderline people. And some people I am going to, like a lot of my names, I'm going to pull from the WWE Hall of Fame. Like, should they get in? And what this will also do is help us give you kind of a history lesson, because I'm going to go ahead and go to Wiki and pull their career and look at a few of their matches, and I'll be able to intelligently discuss why I think they should be in or why they think they should be out. And of course, Dave, I know you have a busy life, so I will handle the research part of it. I'll shoot you a few highlights and see what you think as far as.
All right, thank you. Wow, okay, I've got homework for next week. And and admittedly, my pick today, I'm going to go completely off the top of my head because you told me about this idea yesterday.
Yes,
I was like, this is great. So, who is your first nominee?
My first nominee is the only person that could be the first nominee, in my opinion. He might be the greatest of all time. He is the only two-time WWE Hall of Famer. He has a record that should not be broken as the 16-time world champion. He's the limousine-riding, jet-flying, wheeling, dealing son of a gun, the nature boy Ric Flair.
Right. You know, I can't argue with that. I mean, if you have a wrestling Hall of Fame and Ric Flair is not in there, there's something wrong with you.
It was very important that he was first to me, because when I was growing up, he was wrestling. He was the wrestler. When you would talk about wrestling, you would talk about Ric Flair, and you would talk about probably the second person I'm going to put on the list next week. So it was just like, that was wrestling to me. It was like Harley Race was a little bit before my time. My dad loved Harley Race. But me, it was Ric Flair.
So now, my first gut reaction was to pick Ric Flair. And that's probably the one I'm going to go with. But then, as I'm sitting here thinking about it this morning, I'm also like, Gorgeous George should be in there. Because he set the stage for so much of what was to come.
And he is Ric Flair is kind of Gorgeous George turned all the way up.
Yeah, Ric Flair is my nominee as well. But Ric Flair, how many people's gimmicks did he really steal? I mean, he just straight up stole Buddy Rogers' gimmick. He was
the new nature boy, and that was a lot of wrestling, because back in the day, wrestling wasn't all the way national. You had to be a big deal to become a national star. So everything was regional. So Buddy Rogers could be the Nature Boy in New York, and he could be the Nature Boy in California. But Ric Flair was the Nature Boy in the Southeast.
And now isn't there somewhere a taped match between Buddy Rogers and Ric Flair that's never seen the light of day?
Maybe, I don't know. Honestly, don't know that. I remember there was another Nature Boy, Buddy Landell.
Yes.
And I remember the Ric Flair and his battle for the Nature Boy in WCW world. I mean, it was just never a contest because Buddy Landell was the cheap version of Ric Flair. He was let's say he was the Dollar General version of Ric Flair.
Yeah, Buddy Landell was always kind of a joke. He bless his heart. He just
he had the blonde hair, and he did the spinning elbow. I remember that was his finisher.
Oh my God, that's of course back in the day when a drop kick could be a finisher.
Yes.
Yes.
The double drop kick, man.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Express, baby.
Yeah.
So, I think it's safe to say that Ric Flair is going in.
Yes, he is the inaugural member of the Around the Ring Hall of Fame. Like I said, he is just a legend on any level. I've been put in a figure 4 more times than I can count by my brother, and it was while painful. I realized that imitation is serious for a flattery, so my brother was just telling me every day how much he loved Ric Flair.
And the figure 4 I did when I was, in junior high, we would wrestle, and the figure 4 hurts the worst when the leg that's crossing over the other leg is behind the knee. If you get it to the point where it is, how do I explain this? It's closer to the person's thigh than it is to their foot. So if you're on the thigh side of the knee, because it's putting pressure on your knee, that hurts, man. That hurts like a bitch.
And the speed which it's kind of a difficult move, and the speed over the years which he's developed in putting it on, it's just, that's him. Like I said, Ric Flair is the most larger-than-life, to me, wrestling character there's ever been. He spawned so much, so much of our pop culture to this day is based on Ric Flair. You can't say woo without somebody saying, doing it like Ric Flair.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about Ric Flair's, what he has meant to wrestling. You can go to any wrestling show in any city, in any country, and someone does the knife edge chop, and more likely than not, the crowd is going to respond with a woo.
More so, you can go to any sporting event, and at some point, they're going to play a Ric Flair woo. At the Kansas City Chiefs game last week, and this is a shout out, they played anytime they got to one section where it was supposed to say woo, they would always put Ric Flair up on the screen doing woo.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now the big question is, how much longer before we start hearing glorious domination at sporting events?
Last week at the Chiefs game, I heard at least 9 different WWE themes, and including in Living Color's Cult of Personality, which I don't know if it's a WWE thing or a famous rock song, but in my mind, of course, because that was the first time I ever heard the song, it was a WWE thing.
Yeah, and just so you know, that was from a record that came out in 1988.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is
so CM Punk.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he used that on the Indies at some point too.
Yes, he definitely did.
And it's such a better song than the one he used before that. That whatever that was that he had before was awful, just awful. All right, so we should probably get into the week that was. You want to start with Raw?
All right, Raw. The biggest takeaways from Raw, because I'm going to kind of speed through the week, because even though there was some impressive wrestling, not a lot really happened. So the beginning of Raw was pretty amazing, where you had Roman Reigns. He comes out for a promo. He said nobody can beat him one-on-one. He's going to main event WrestleMania, and it's awesome. And then Paul Heyman came out, said, you know what, I'm going to destroy everybody. And then Kevin Owens and Jericho came out, and they did their thing. And then Seth Rollins came out, and Braun Strowman came out, said he's going to beat up everybody. Then Sami Zayn just comes out and just jumps on Braun Strowman, right? So Lesnar then drops Reigns, drops Zayn. Lesnar and Strowman had a stare down, and then you realize Strowman does have a brain because he backed down, and he just jumped off the apron and went to the back, and then Reigns hit Lesnar. He just catches him by surprise with a Superman punch, and Lesnar just shakes it off, and then F5s. It was pretty amazing.
That I actually did see. I saw like the first bit of the show, so I did see this segment. This was a good segment. This was a really good segment.
You want a story on this is how you start a show. Because I'm at this point, I'm like most of the time I'm watching Raw, I'm at work, so I am literally pumped up for the rest of the show. So there was a couple segments that I necessarily wouldn't have been interested in that actually got me more into the show because that segment started off so well.
Nice. So, what are your other thoughts on Raw?
The New Day, they're trying to keep them relevant. It's a struggle because they got them with Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil, if anybody understands, I think has everything you need to be a star in this business. And I just really, really, really they just have to put him with the right gimmick. I don't know if Vince just doesn't see it, but he's like just 6'7", he's 260, 280 pounds, and he's ripped. And you put him on the mic, he's fairly entertaining. I think the biggest thing on the mic is that they do write for him too much, and he has problems remembering his lines because he flubs over them enough. And I think they should just let him be Titus. Say hit on this point, and just let him talk.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. I think his two biggest weaknesses are, one, he's not good remembering lines, and two, honestly, he's not very good between the ropes.
Yeah.
He's not awful, but he is not good.
But he's better than Mark Henry. And he's such a big dude. He's kind of like in that Braun Strowman. He doesn't really have to do anything all that difficult. He's just so huge.
True. Yeah, he needs some new gimmick because he does. You're right, he has tons of potential.
Yeah, he has tons of potential. The problem is he's 40. So, I mean, he could have a late big run in the WWE like a la DDP. And honestly, when, they had kind of buried Booker T and then brought him out and then they gave Mark Henry a run. It's just he's a great foil as a heel, especially if you have a smaller champion because he's so big. But unfortunately, you have to establish his dominance, so you have to let him start winning.
And I don't foresee that happening. I mean, especially after the dust-up that happened last year between him and Vince. In a lot of ways, he could use by his career, if he was, say, 5 years younger, he really would benefit from leaving WWE, going somewhere else, and showing people, things that he can do, and then coming back.
Yeah, he would be a big star in Japan just because he's so huge.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they don't really make you talk in Japan. You don't have to. I guess most of the people do understand you because I think English is taught just like Japanese, like all through their lives. But he's just a big guy. It's like, don't ask him to be what he's not. That's a big thing in wrestling. Don't ask people to do what they're not comfortable with doing. If you don't fall well, don't fall a lot. Well, with Titus, he's not going to put on a 25-minute classic wrestling match. Titus is just going to be big, and he's going to be the guy that shouldn't fall, shouldn't take a lot of falls. He should get hit, and the guy wears him down as the match goes, and then he ends up losing. I'm not saying make him a world champion, but I believe he has a lot of potential.
All right. What else from Raw?
All right. Charlotte and Bayley segment to me fell flat. It was, just basically her running down Bayley as being average. I hope it's not as predictable as it's setting up to be, because everything they're doing is setting up Bayley to win the title at Royal Rumble, which, since I'll be there, that would depress me more because I can't stand Bayley. the Cedric Alexander and Alicia Keys, because I only have two more things. Cedric Alexander and Alicia Fox, sorry. Their whole segment, I love. It's giving Cedric Alexander a lot of screen time and letting the WWE fans know who he is. And he's a really good wrestler, so I think they are really, in a subtle way, hitching a star to Cedric Alexander.
They better, because he is amazing. I mean,
yeah, I'm just saying, it's just like, there's a lot of different ways to get over. He's getting over by screen time. He is getting backstage segments and screens and matches on Raw. I honestly can say he's on Raw way more than TJP. So
he has, I mean, he has more personality, at least more likable on-screen personality than TJP has.
Yeah.
TJP needs to be a heel. That we've talked about that before. That needs to happen.
Yeah.
But Cedric Alexander is just he is the only disadvantage he has is he's not taller.
They're building him up as the second or third babyface. I mean, Jack Gallagher probably is the second babyface on Cruiserweight right now, if not one. I think he's actually more over than Rich Swann. So Jack Gallagher is just amazing. But Cedric Alexander is right there, and it looks like they are going to keep him in the Cruiserweight division for a while. I personally see him more as the Intercontinental U.S. champion, with potential to grow from there. But hey, everyone has to start somewhere.
Yeah, and that you don't want to start gutting that division yet, because 205's already having hard times keeping audiences, so they need to keep him there for a while. But eventually, I could see him, Gallagher, and Rich Swann all moving out of 205 Live and moving into Raw and SmackDown, doing upper mid card stuff.
Yeah, I say him as far as mostly because he really does wrestle at like 225. He's not a 205 guy. He was a square peg forced into a round hole, and he's made it work.
But he looks great.
Yeah,
he looks so good.
I would not be surprised if he's not put the weight back on. I don't think they're weighing them every week.
Probably not, but he still looks
slim.
Yeah, a lot more.
You can tell
ripped.
where he ripped up around the midsection area when he lost the weight.
Yeah, he still looks a whole lot more ripped than he did in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
You have anything else from
the last segment, which was Reigns, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn versus Owens, Jericho, and Strowman. I hate 6-man matches. I really do. But this was a really, really good 6-man match. I mean, I hate them. Whenever they announce a 6-man match, I'm generally not paying attention. This match grabbed my attention from the beginning. I'm not saying it was like an all-time classic 6-man match, but it just told enough of a story to keep me interested in it. Strowman gets the win with the power slam. That part was straightforward, but after the match, but Strowman's like just trying to destroy Sami Zayn, and then you have Rollins comes in with the chair. Reigns hits him with hits him with a spear, and he takes a spear on that up top where it's just mostly metal. Ooh. And Jason pointed out to me, and I had to go watch it this morning. He actually lets out an audible grunt, like really loud grunt, when Reigns hits him with the spear. So that even sold it more. And then, of course, it ends with Owen and Jericho. Owens powerbombing Reigns through an announce table on Raw. So it was really good. I don't know what they're going to do as far as Reigns and Owens at the Rumble. But I just really hope they just put on this amazing match. They've pretty much been working together for months on the house show circuit. So I'm hoping they just steal the show up there.
I hope so, too, because Reigns really, for as much crap as he gets, he can have really, really good matches, especially when he's in there with someone who's really good. I did see some clips of this, and are they trying to make Sami Zayn look like a dork?
Yes, because I think when he went more the Mick Foley angle, they're kind of making him a Mick Foley guy. And Mick Foley was a dork, but he could take a beating and he would still win, and he was still a lovable loser type thing. And they are really like driving home the lovable loser gimmick.
And I've heard reports that he has heat backstage.
apparently he likes to give his opinion when it's not asked.
And see, to me, I think that's I would never survive in an organization like WWE because I would probably do the same thing.
Well, you know what? When you're trying to tell people how to do things better, it's great, and I take any advice given to me, but unsolicited advice can rub people the wrong way, because if you give an unsolicited advice to them, you're saying they did something wrong.
Good point. Do you want to talk about 205 Live next, or you want to go into SmackDown?
Let's go into SmackDown.
Okay.
SmackDown, SmackDown, Miz and AJ Styles had a match at the beginning of the show. It was a pretty good match. It was a pretty good match, and where Miz actually won by disqualification if you watched it. Nikki Bella and Natalya, I'm not feeling this rivalry, but they may be able to put on a good match because, Natalya trained Nikki Bella, so they may be able to have some chemistry. They did a Dean Ambrose and Randy Orton match where Dean wins because, of course, Luke Harper cost him the match. So Wyatt gets mad, and I'm kind of skipping around here when I say Wyatt gets mad and says, and he comes on before the main event, and he says Randy Orton versus Luke Harper, and only basically one will win, one will lose type thing. So they're two brothers that have to fight out their problems. So I thought that was pretty cool. Those are two really, really good in-ring workers as far as Orton and Luke Harper. I really don't want them to end this Wyatt thing anytime soon. I think it could go. I think it has legs if they want to do it, because if you play it out and you do the slow burn like Triple H loves to do, and you really build Randy Orton as really being a Wyatt, and then they have the Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton breakup, it'll make so much more of noise. It'll make so much more of a match.
Now, is this match going to be next week, or is this going to be at the Rumble?
It's actually going to be next week, Randy and Luke Harper. And that's another thing SmackDown does. They're really good at making really important matches during their regular show.
Yeah, that they do a really good job. And they also do a good job of telling you ahead of time, hey, next week we're going to have this match, and it's really important, instead of just booking on the fly. So I like that. So here's my thoughts on this, because this sounds like it's going to be an awesome match. Because I like you, I want them to make this a slow burn. So I think what they need to do is on Tuesday, they need to have it be a really good match and Luke Harper get the win. And afterwards, Randy gets in his face and then shakes his hand and then raises his hand to keep, planting those seeds, so that eventually we can work this all the way to Mania, where Orton and Bray have their breakup match. If not after that.
See, and that's what I'm like. I think the Orton and Bray's breakup match should happen at like SummerSlam.
Ooh.
I think it should be a big deal. Like, Orton and Bray should be as tight, and they should damn near be dominating SmackDown at that point, and then they have their breakup.
Okay, I you know what? I take that back. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Because I just don't really think, you're stacking WrestleMania, you're going to have Shaq versus the Big Show, which I'm more excited about than a lot of people. You're going to have two world title matches. You're already going to have that. You're, one of them will probably end the Undertaker. You're going to have you're going to have 2 tag team matches. You're going to have 2 women's matches. You're going to have all these matches. Man, you're probably going to have Jericho and KO in a match.
Yeah, let's not put that at Mania. You're right. That'd be a
let's
great
save
SummerSlam.
Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton to SummerSlam. Let's save it, because they have been horrible about building up big matches for SummerSlam. Bray and Randy at SummerSlam, going at it, some kind of weird gimmick match that that is appropriate for Bray Wyatt. Not something like, I don't even know what to call it. But some type of just huge match with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Build it up for SummerSlam. Shit, even maybe have one of them be the world champion, and that's what ends up causing the problem with the. That's what ends up causing the breakup.
And you know what would be very fitting is if you have because I think we'll do our Royal Rumble predictions next week. You're going to be in San Antonio for both NXT TakeOver and Royal Rumble, correct?
That is correct.
Will you be able to do a show next Sunday morning?
I'm going to have to tell you because AJ Styles is doing a signing that Sunday, so I'm going to have to tell you later this week.
Okay. Well, we'll find out. If nothing else, I might just jump on here and do a little solo Royal Rumble predictions. But we'll worry about that later.
We will definitely make it happen.
Okay, sounds good. But what would be cool is I think it's probably safe to say, as much as this pains both of our hearts, John Cena will probably win the championship at the Rumble. If not the Rumble, then at the Elimination Chamber. And then I would say he maybe holds it through WrestleMania and have Bray Wyatt beat him at WrestleMania for it. And that is the point where, because Bray Wyatt should have beat John Cena at WrestleMania a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so they could correct that by having Bray win his first world championship at WrestleMania, which would be fantastic. And then that would start the deceit with Randy Orton, because you could see him start eyeing the belt and all that good stuff. So yeah, that would be. I like that. Take it through the SummerSlam, the Summerfest, as what's his face said once. You have anything else from the SmackDown?
Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch. It's funny because they kind of spoiled it because my friend Ryan got on and said this is what's going to happen. Alexa and Becky are going to fight. Somehow the Luchador is going to come out, and then La Luchador is going to be revealed to be Mickie James, and that's exactly what happened. I'm like, if you go look at the club and you look at the Tuesday morning before the show, Ryan Aaron just played it directly out.
Good job, Ryan.
Any surprise there may have been kind of got ruined. I'm not saying because wrestling is a prediction game. That's what we do as wrestling fans. So I had to give him all credit and respect for calling that straight out. Mickie James came out. She does the crazy character very well. Her and Alicia Fox, man, they really run with that crazy character. And so we will see how it plays out next week.
And I'm so glad that she got another contract. Is getting 3 more years in WWE, because that match she had with Asuka was so good, and that I think that impressed tons of people.
She knows she can work, and she hasn't lost a step or anything like that. Everything that required her to leave WWE was everything backstage, off of screen. It had never had anything to do with her, how she worked.
All right, well, you have anything else from SmackDown?
That is it from SmackDown.
Okay. How about 205 Live? Anything from that?
205 Live was 205 Live was a very abbreviated show, so that makes it a lot easier. You had let's see, I don't remember the matches all the way, but the most important match was the I Forfeit match, which I think did everything in the world to even more get Jack Gallagher over, but it's actually got Arya Daivari over as a heel. And they're going to be great going into their next feuds. I'm hoping that this was the end of the feud. That was the stipulation in it. But they did a great job of getting that rivalry over. And it pretty much, the rivalry, went Raw, and it was like pretty much a TV rivalry. It wasn't a pay-per-view rivalry, and it was a really good rivalry. And I feel like that is missing from wrestling a lot now. It's a great TV rivalry where it doesn't have to end at a pay-per-view to be an important match. It ended as a main event on the show, and they did a really good job of that. They also had a match with Tony Nese and what's his name? I'm having a problem with his name. He's the Tony Nese. I'm pulling it up right now.
And did Jack Gallagher win that match, by the way?
Jack Gallagher won it, took the umbrella and did some of this, the crossface chicken wing with the arm. He did a crossface chicken wing with the umbrella as used as like a grip inside of it, and he pulled back and he made him forfeit. Basically, he said he was going to break his arm if he didn't forfeit, and it definitely showed a more vicious side of Jack Gallagher, and that was cool.
Cool.
But yeah, the dude that does the reverse 450 splash, I can't even think of his name.
Mustafa Ali.
Yes, they've been building him up with wins, so they did a good job of building him up, and then he loses to Tony Nese. So this was more to get Tony Nese more over and so they built him up over the last few weeks as this really great competitor, and then have Tony Nese beat him. Again, that's a very much of a normal storytelling device in wrestling. You know, you build someone up so they can make someone else look even better. So, I think Mustafa Ali is going to be, especially with his moveset, he's going to be good eventually. But Tony Nese, I think he might get lost because he looks like Neville, and then they're going to bring Austin Aries in. He has the ability to get lost in it. But if they're really trying to have a homegrown talent as far as a really guy that's going to be with the cruiserweight division the whole time, they need to really focus on Tony Nese.
Yeah, he's I like him. He's definitely.
I really do like him. He just, like I said, he can get lost.
Yeah, I can see that.
Not careful.
Anything else from 205 Live?
That is it from 205 Live. Like I said, it was a really good show, but it was mainly focused around those two and that I-forfeit match, which it really did sell it really well.
So we have two more big things to talk about, the UK tournament and NXT. Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do the UK tournament.
All right. I've heard very good things about it, have not seen any of it yet, so you're going to have to bring me up to speed.
All right, UK tournament. Of course, we had 16-man tournament. It was 3 days. The Saturday was the first round of the tournament. I finished watching this Friday, and so I could pay fully attention to it and give it all of my focus and decide who I liked and who I didn't like. Big thing with it is the British style is very good. I have not been familiar with British wrestling, so it did take a while for me to come along, get into the idea. It's very much a mixture of strong style and grappling, which it's really different from what I've watched before, but I can definitely see it was William Regal, Finlay, Dave Taylor. I've seen the style. So we had Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate is a 19-year-old kid. I guess he's been wrestling for like 2 or 3 years. Dude's freaking amazing. He didn't come out as my favorite wrestler. He did not. But he was really athletic, and he could tell a story with his face. I love that about him. My favorite one coming out of the tournament was Wolfgang. I'm just giving notes because I didn't feel like we should go match by match. My favorite one coming out is Wolfgang. He's a big dude, big burly dude, but he does a swanton as his finisher.
Oh, wow.
And he calls it the Howler, which is even better. And that's a big thing with them. It's like their gimmicks and their finishers all have something to do with them. And they all have names, you know what I'm saying? There's this wrestler named Seven. I forgot what his finisher was called. And then Mark Andrews of TNA fame. His name's Mandrews in TNA. He was very entertaining. But Wolfgang and Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne was very much built from the first match. He was built as the heel. He beat up his guy after the match is over. He has a pump handle flatliner as his finishing maneuver. Oh my God. When done correctly, when the guy takes it correctly, it looks amazing. The first guy he wrestled was Roy Johnson. Unfortunately, Roy Johnson did not know how to take this move. Because pretty garbage when he did the move the first time and he got the 3, and I was like, man, you should have got up and done that move again. And but he was built. He built up to beat the guy up after the match, and then at the end of the night, on the first night, they had everybody that won up there, and of course they was like, well, Pete Dunne's gonna wrestle Sam Gradwell, and they go through, and then Pete Dunne just destroyed Sam Gradwell at the top of that. Or doing the presentation, and you can tell William Regal is very good at getting very angry, and it's like, oh, why did you do that? And it's like Triple H is like, you just made a name for yourself. Because how is Triple H going to tell anybody not to jump people? So yeah. Pete Dunne, I think as much as who Tyler Bate won the tournament, Pete Dunne is who they were building up in the tournament. The bruiserweight Pete Dunne. This dude's 205 pounds of just nasty. He wrestles nasty. He's like, to me, because you'll see her shot, he's like a British Chris Benoit to me. Very intense style. Very, just all the look. He never smiles. And he just wants to hurt people and win. And what they did through the show, everything was about building him up. And I think it was more building him up to get Tyler Bate over in the end, but I think Pete Dunne, he was being cheered most of the night. He was actually the star of the show.
I've heard good things about him.
Tyler Bate's amazing, and he put on a great match every time. As far as me, I am learning the British strong style. This was an introduction. So, of course, some people said some matches were classics. None of them really came off as classics to me, but that's me learning the style. I'm not saying any match was not good. I'm just saying I don't know the style. This is the first time I've seen it, so nothing came off as a 5-star to me. But Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, the last match of the tournament, well, it really did put the last match of the Cruiserweight tournament to shame, because it was kind of like TJP and I forgot who the other guy was. The Grand Metalik. They did what they could, but, it was like, you just seen like 3 5-star matches. You weren't going to live up to it. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne beat the crap out of each other. And they told a story, because after the semifinal rounds, Pete Dunne, after Tyler Bate gets the win over Wolfgang, which he did an impressive, his Tyler driver is a Tiger driver. He calls it the Tyler Driver 97, but it's a Tiger Driver. Okay. And he did that on Wolfgang, who's about good 100, 150 pounds heavier than him. And I was very impressed that he was able to do that move on him. And then Pete Dunne beat him up after the match and threw his shoulder into the ring. And then they had him come out with the shoulder tape on, which has become a very good storytelling device, that shoulder tape. And it was, he worked his arm the whole match, and Tyler Bates somehow overcame everything to win the match. The biggest takeaway from the tournament is how good Michael Cole is when Vince is not screaming in his ear.
I was actually going to ask about that, because I'd heard that Michael Cole did a fantastic job.
Most importantly, even when he flubbed, he was able to recover. Like, even when he called another move, he was able to recover in a way. And then Nigel McGuinness is very good. His job is color. He added so much color to each match. He would say what the guy was feeling, why he would do this. He would, like, when they wouldn't connect with the move, he'd say, oh, well, he didn't connect, but he got his arm across the head. And he actually, like, added color. He did what a color commentator is supposed to do. And so you have this play-by-play guy who's really doing really good play-by-play. I'm not going to say it's Jim Ross level, but you can tell he is very different when the production is handled by Triple H.
That's awesome. It's a shame that he doesn't get to do that more often.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to plug Gatorade and Mountain Dew and say, go to the WWE Network for the $9.99 because you're watching the WWE Network. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have to do all that extra crap that he has to do on Raw.
So did the show feel like something very different than other WWE shows?
Oh yeah, I mean the way they told stories with their bodies, it's always going to feel different to me because it is an in-ring focused show. You know, it's I mean it's all about storytelling in the ring. There's very little backstage, but you can see as they coming from the cruiserweight division, they wanted to tell a different story than cruiserweights. Like, they did have people that were friends and stuff, but they didn't make them necessarily wrestle each other. Because, you know, you had already told that story, a lot of that, the friendship story in the cruiserweight division. They wanted it to be a very different story.
And how was the crowd?
Crowd was basically a football crowd. They chanted the whole time. They reacted to everything. The crowd, I was like... You think the CWC crowd was the London? They have their chants and their songs, and it's just I can't wait to one day be a part of those type of crowds.
Yeah, I'll never forget that TakeOver London. That crowd was.
It was every bit the TakeOver London crowd.
Okay, that's awesome. So now in the news, it's come out that there are going to be a few British promotions or UK promotions that are going to start having shows on the WWE Network. I think ICW's been mentioned. I think Progress has been mentioned. How do you think that's going to play out? And do you think that eventually what's going to happen is that one of these companies will run the UK show with a couple of representatives from WWE hanging around?
Absolutely. My biggest concern is that they just call it TVMA and let these people do what they do. You know, I know the WWE Network is, you know, kid-friendly and all that stuff, but the only way you're going to get these people that are not on the WWE Network is to offer something different. They generally, if you're not on the WWE Network now, you don't necessarily either like the WWE product or you feel like you can get it somewhere else. So with Progress and ICW and everything like that, that would be something different than the current WWE product that would get people interested.
So I wonder is let's say if Progress and ICW are going to be able to start showing their weekly shows on the WWE Network, and then would that be in place of a UK WWE run show, and they would just have the UK champion on the Progress and ICW shows, or do you think
that's what I think they should do? Is just have the champion on those other shows defending the WWE title, and maybe do a UK show maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
That would be good. You could do and they could be billed as like super shows.
Yeah.
And if WWE was smart, which they probably wouldn't do this, but they would also have, let's say if it ends up Progress and ICW have shows on the network, and the UK title is defended on both of those shows, and that's where they do their UK storylines and they bring it in that way. You do a once a quarter, basically like a UK takeover type special. And then on that show, you have the Progress title defended, you have the ICW title defended, you have the UK title headline. It's just a shame you can't get Rev Pro, because if we could get Rev Pro, then imagine you could actually someday see Shibata taking on Will Ospreay on the WWE Network. Oh, that will never happen. So this is my other question. So with ICW in Progress, they don't, as far as I know, they don't have exclusive contracts. So there are people that come in and work those shows. A lot of New Japan guys come in there, guys from TNA, all
mostly,
over the place.
Yeah, Drew Galloway works a lot of their shows.
Right, so how is that, if they run into a contract with WWE to put this stuff on the WWE Network, how is that going to affect their ability to book these guys, to bring in Drew Galloway and will they just not show those? Because obviously they can edit people out. Yeah,
they won't be able to, because Drew Galloway can only be seen on TNA TV. So,
he can be seen on Evolve pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that there was, WWE had been in talks with WWN Live to put Evolve shows on the network, and then that was scrapped. And some of the rumblings floating around is because the Evolve shows, even though their production value has gotten better, they look so small time because there's such small crowds. And this was a big criticism that FloSlam has gotten recently. They had a WWN show, and I forget which promotion, because WWN has like 5 or 6 promotions under its banner, that was literally in front of like houseplants. It was in an awful building, and they had to move locations from one venue to another last minute, but it apparently looked terrible and looked so low class that that's an advantage that I think organizations like Progress ICW, I could see Vince looking at those, seeing clips of those, because you see their shows online, and they look like a big deal. I mean, hell, they used some ICW footage on a bunch of Finn Balor promo stuff. But you look at those shows, you're like, okay, these are packed halls, the production value is really good, and I could see Vince being a guy that says, I don't want something that looks like shit on my network. I don't care how much we're using these people as a feeder system. This looks awful. I'm not putting it on my TV.
I would imagine that WWE is going to be kicking them a little money to make sure everything is, lighting and all that kind of stuff. It's like, as far as a business decision, you're going to have them on their program. You don't necessarily want it to look like a WWE show, but it's got to be well lit just because that's what WWE does.
Yeah.
Their lighting puts everyone else to shame.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I didn't know this, but apparently FloSlam, speaking of them, they were part of in their business model, they were really trying to go after Ring of Honor, and that deal fell through, and they have been hurting really bad ever since then. And another thing I didn't realize is that they gave Gabe Sapolsky, they gave WWN Live like $3.5 million a contract, and as cool as Evolve is, and I've seen a little bit of Evolve here and there, I can't imagine that being worth $3.5 million.
I enjoy Evolve. This is Evolve. I enjoy it, but yeah, $3.5 million. But you needed something to be, exclusive to WWN or FloSlam to make it work.
Yeah, and man, FloSlam's biggest problem is it's $20. Especially now that WWE has created this UK brand that they're going to have, they've got so many different types of shows on their network, and it sounds like they're going to have possibly a Latin America show, they're going to have a Japanese show. So at what point do you go, okay, well, I can pay $20 to watch FloSlam and get basically Evolve pay-per-views, or I can spend $10, get the WWE network, where I can watch, a version of American Indies, which is NXT. I can watch cruiserweight wrestling. I can watch, light heavyweight cruiserweight wrestling. I've got a UK style show I can watch. At some point, maybe we'll have a Japanese style show. It's almost like they're filling every niche. They're like, okay, here's a wrestling niche. We want your $10. Here's something for you. So maybe they're trying.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I'm all in on the WWE Network. I've been a subscriber since the day it became available, and I just like that they're making new content on it. One of those weird things I would like is them to have actual TV shows, like scripted TV shows. I would think maybe have a wrestler as one of the main characters in it would be pretty cool.
Like a sitcom starring Wade Barrett or something.
Sitcom, that kind of thing. Just something different than the whole reality TV wrestling stuff, because I just don't care about that.
Yeah.
But it's just a personal thing. I know most people love reality TV.
Yeah, I'm not really fond of it myself. Well, hey, let's go ahead and move on to NXT unless you had anything else from the UK stuff.
No, I do not have anything else from UK.
All right, so I actually did watch NXT this week, and I enjoyed it. It was another one of those shows that was enjoyable. Not a ton happened.
Yeah. My problem with NXT is the once the person loses the title, now they can't beat anybody anymore. I hate that. But they do that on NXT so much.
Oh, you're talking about the TM61 Revival match.
Yes. Once you lose the titles, now you can't win anymore.
See, I saw that more of okay, we got to help elevate TM61, because I would not be surprised if the Revival are on the main roster at some point in the next few months. And it was a fluke win. It wasn't a decisive win. TM61 didn't hit their finisher. TM61 got the piss beaten out of them afterwards. So I don't think that hurt.
That's true. Those are solid points right there.
Yeah. To me, watching that, it was the victory helped elevate TM61, but it didn't do it at the expense of the Revival. The Revival are still obviously complete badasses, and it's so funny watching how Full Sail has now so wholeheartedly embraced these guys. It's great. I love it. I mean, it's this weird dichotomy anymore where in so many ways the heels are the biggest baby faces out there. You think AJ Styles can't get booed to save his life. He has to really insult a city before they start booing him, and they'll boo him, and then he does something else and they'll cheer him again.
Yep. It is 100% true with that.
Yeah. So I like the Ty Dillinger segment where he came out and he was like, I don't know what's going on. Then I loved how the crowd was chanting Royal Rumble at him. I thought that was cool. And I didn't think about it until the crowd kept chanting 10 along with it. It would be great if he was entrant 10 on the Royal Rumble.
That would be almost too on the nose, but it would. Yeah, I would geek out at the show for that.
Yeah, and do you think the crowd would go nuts for him?
Oh, definitely. His 10 chant is everywhere as far as wrestling. Even on TNA, they don't count 1, 2, 3. They just go 10, 10, 10, and it's just like it's so over right now. Even the San Antonio crowd. Again, I have a few friends that are coming from not friends of friends that are coming from the UK to it. So the Royal Rumble is getting built up as a pretty big show. So it's going to be a lot of smarky people there.
Yeah, and the Royal Rumble is really becoming a destination event. It's easily the second biggest event WWE does all year, I think. In SummerSlam, but I think it's number 2, and they're really building it more and more to be the second biggest event, because it really is. Those
shows are so much better when they do them in the big arenas in the South, because tickets are so much more affordable. When they do the events in New York, everything is so much more expensive.
Oh, that I can imagine.
Yeah, the hotel, driving, and the tickets generally, and like even me, who I'm pretty loosey goosey with the spending, can't justify. I generally can't justify going to New York. It's just so much more expensive than going everywhere else.
Oh no, that makes perfect sense.
It's like when I'm in San Antonio, my hotel per day for the 3 days for the few days is $44. So, as opposed to in New York, it's going to be $200 a night, and that's on the low side.
Oh, that hurts.
It does. It completely changes your trip.
Yeah. Crap, I just lost my train of thought. Hate that. Oh, so Ty Dillinger comes out, and then Sanity comes out, and basically offer him a spot. And this was so cool because this was not expected. I didn't see this coming. And then the part I really loved about this was when Eric Young got in the ring and he was just talking to him like a normal person. He wasn't crazy Eric Young. He was just like, dude, I understand this seems weird, but this is the right decision, blah, blah, blah. And then he does he switches the light, and it's like, no, I'm not asking, I'm telling. And that was great. And then Damo hit in the ring, and because this was filmed after bloody Wrestle Kingdom. How long do you think he has been using the One-Winged Angel as his finishing move?
I think he's been using it for a while. I'm just like, it's certain moves out there that it's just like, it works for him. It works on the WWE level. It works with a bigger guy than a smaller guy. Even with Kenny Omega trying to pull it off, I'm like, I thought he was pulling it off. But I was like, man, if he gets into WWE, let's see him try to pull that off on Samoa Joe. That was the first thing I thought when I saw it. So it works better as far as an electric chair drop into a cradle pin. It works better with a bigger guy because he's going to be able to do that on everyone.
Did you, after he did that, did you see that one guy in the crowd in the pink shirt losing his mind?
No.
Oh, there was a shot. It was kind of over Damo's right shoulder, and this guy was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he just hit that move." He was just losing his mind. It was hilarious.
It's crazy just because I do my best not to pay attention to the NXT crowd because I feel like they spend so much of their show trying to get themselves over instead of enhancing the show.
I can see that. I think it depends on the day or the specific
show.
Yeah.
No, it's just they've caught me on a few shows in a row, especially during the middle of the summer where NXT was kind of down on talent, right after the draft. It was just like, you could do so much to enhance the people in the ring, but they were more, hey, we're so awesome, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of that is just they're just all having a really good time, which that is, if I had a bucket list of things to do, a wrestling bucket list, going to Full Sail is one of them. I want to see a show at Full Sail, preferably a takeover. I'd want to go see a PWG show because those just look insanely fun. Those kind of things. Those would probably be my top two things I would want to do.
Just tell me when the tickets go on sale. We can drive in the car, dude. I'm always down. I don't care.
Yeah. PWG tickets are damn near impossible to get. They go on sale and 30 seconds later they're sold out. But that's because they're in California and it's holds a couple hundred people, and everyone and their dog wants to go to those things. And it is not uncommon to be at a PWG show and see lots of famous people. Max Landis goes to them all the time. Ronda Rousey goes to them.
Who's Max Landis?
He did he wrote the movie Chronicle.
Oh, okay. I know.
He produced the Wrestling Isn't Wrestling video.
I remember. Yeah. Now, as soon as you said the Chronicle, I know who you were talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, and WWE guys show up there too to see what's going on. But yeah, okay, yeah, that would be fun. But I'm trying to think, what'd you think of the contract signing?
You know what, they've added. That is one thing NXT does. They added a different twist on the contract signing. I like that there was no physicality. It was just basically, I'm better than you, and they did it in an interesting way. And Bobby Roode, the whole idea that the NXT crowd is getting more sophisticated. The wrestlers in the back are wearing suits. I just love that whole line.
I do too.
And then Shinsuke Nakamura sticking with his thing. I'm going to kick your head off.
Yeah. The other thing I liked when he said to the crowd, they're even dressing better. They did the New Day Who thing. They're like, who? That was great. Yeah, that whole segment was good. That Bobby Roode that was the first, I think, really great promo he's done in NXT.
Well, his first one was a really great promo.
Well, true, but I think this one was better
because he went from face to heel in 2 minutes. He went from everyone cheering him to everyone booing him before the interview was over. I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, you're right.
Yeah, it was like, what? They just wanted to cheer him so bad, and he just runs them all down. I shouldn't even be here. And it just he just turned them all. And it was like, wow, how did that happen? That was unexpected.
Oh yeah. So let's go ahead and talk TakeOver San Antonio because you will be at this show next Saturday.
Me and the girlfriend will be at this show. I'm very excited. She has never watched NXT. I told her I was going to get her a couple shows so she at least know who the people are.
Good. Okay, cool. Very good. So right now, looking at the Wikipedia page, there, as of this morning at 10:15, there are 5 matches for this. I'm sure they're going to add a few more before it's all said and done. But let's go through this card. First up, Roderick Strong taking on Andrade Cien Almas. Who do you think's walking away with this one?
I think they're going to go with Cien Almas just because they're really trying to build him up. He can be a heel foil for whoever they want. I just think this right now with Roderick Strong just joining the company, you go with Cien Almas and go ahead and give him the win.
Yeah, because Roddy really doesn't need the win, I don't think. And Almas, since he has turned heel, is finally getting over.
Yeah, he's kind of the face in this competition with Roddy is kind of the face with Cien Almas. But, you are building up the next crack of NXT stars. Who's going to be your NXT star over the next year? And if you really want to build him as a heel, he really does need to win.
Yeah, it needs to be, but Roddy needs a good, strong showing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can't just be a super clean, easy win. Because also, this could be the beginning of a feud that they stretch out through, say, Mania weekend.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah. So next up, we've got Ty Dillinger taking on Eric Young. Do you think this is Ty Dillinger on his back on his way out before?
Yeah, this is him going out. Sanity wins. I'm guessing Damo shows his might and puts the finisher on Dillinger, and Eric Young gets the victory. It's fun. It's kind of cool how they're using Eric Young to get these younger people over, and because he's already over, and he's gonna establish Big Damo, Alexander Wolf, and Nikki. He's gonna establish them all, as the part of Sanity. And I could see Sanity being very fluid group where they use to build new stars, like maybe Wolf and Damo go up to the main roster, then Young gets a couple more people in Sanity, and it's just kind of a feeder group, because I don't know if Young goes to the main roster because they already have the Wyatts, and it's a very similar type of gimmick.
True. One thing I would love to see, and especially if they really build all of these separate brands, because you hear something you hear Triple H talk about is having these kind of separate, distinct brands that could become fluid, where people move from one to the other, back and forth. But I would love at some point one of the pay-per-views, probably Survivor Series would be the one to do it, but one of the pay-per-views needs to be a super show where you bring in people from all of the brands. You bring in guys from NXT. You bring in the UK champ. You bring in, the Cruiserweights are already on Raw, so they would already be part of it. But if you have a Japanese show, you bring in your Japanese champ. Because imagine if you're at Survivor Series and you end up with a stare down between Sanity and the Wyatts. How cool would that be?
That would be pretty impressive. Like I said, Eric Young and Bray Wyatt. That's just a cool storyline right there.
That would, and I could see them having really, really good matches.
Especially with the big guys, if you do a lot of the interference type thing, that would be a good match. And like I said, Sanity even took the step further. They have a sister Abigail. They actually have a girl in the group. I've been wanting the Wyatts to have a girl in the group for a long time.
And speaking of her, the next match is a fatal four-way for the NXT Women's Championship. Nikki Cross taking on Billie Kay, taking on Peyton Royce against the champion Asuka.
I think Cross pins Billie Kay or whatever and becomes a new champion. And me personally think Asuka debuts the next night on Raw. Or the night after the Royal Rumble on Raw.
That would be good, because what else? I mean, at this point, what else is there for Asuka to do?
Nothing else for her to do, and that's a way of putting her on the main roster without her losing the belt. She still would have never been pinned or submitted in NXT.
Exactly, and because at this point, she is almost holding that division back because she is so incredible. And you see, there are a couple people who you think might be able to eke a win out of her. Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, maybe that the MMA fighter lady with the cornrows.
Daria.
Yeah, those are the only three in the division that you could see. Okay, I could see in a match one of these three ladies could potentially beat Asuka.
You get Asuka out, you've kind of reset the division, and you can let everybody establish themselves.
Exactly, and I agree. I think Nikki needs to win the belt by pinning either Billie Kay or Peyton Royce. But another thing they could do is at some point Nikki and Asuka could be outside of the ring brawling, and Billie and Peyton look at each other. One of them lays down, and the other one lays on top of her to get the pin.
Yeah, that could be something cool, but they wouldn't do that. They kind of hold their NXT belts in prestige, so I don't think they would do that.
Yeah,
it's just everything about NXT and how they treat their belts is that they're everything.
All right, next is the NXT Tag Team Championship. We have hashtag DIY Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa taking on the Authors of Pain, Razor and Akam, with Paul Ellering at ringside. You thinking Authors of Pain walking out?
I think they... I kind of feel like everything in me says that, so I'm saying they're going to go Gargano and Ciampa and save the Authors of Pain till the WrestleMania takeover.
Yeah, because I think Gargano and Ciampa need a win at a takeover. It would be too much like American Alpha. They win it at the belt at one takeover. They drop it at the next takeover. Now, at least Gargano and Ciampa have defended it a few times on TV, so that they have that advantage. And it would be even if it's just a fluke win, it would be a hell of a way to get those two guys even more over to beat these couple of monsters. And then who knows? Maybe you get a triple threat match at the Mania takeover with the Revival. Even though at that point I want the Revival on SmackDown. But I don't know. I mean, if Gargano and Ciampa go up, I'm guessing they go to Raw.
Yeah, I don't think they're going up. That's what I'm like. I think they're going to be at least there another 6 months to a year.
Yeah, I would like to see them have a really long tag run.
Yeah, I don't think they're going up I don't think they're going up anytime soon.
Though I would absolutely love to hear their music on either Raw or SmackDown. Yeah,
it would be cool, but it's just like the tag team division is so deep right now, they would definitely get lost.
Yeah.
They did take a hit. SmackDown did take a hit, and they do have a spot now open now because of the Hype Bros being gone.
And I can't take the Hype Bros seriously. I really can't.
Well, you don't have to anymore because they're gone for at least a year.
Yeah, because poor Zack Ryder.
Yeah,
man.
So they're gone for a while. That's what I'm saying. There's just a spot there. I mean, it could be someone they could revamp. What am I thinking of?
Blake and Murphy.
The Ascension, or they could revamp the Ascension, or they could revamp the Vaudevillains if they wanted to, which they were both on our list of people who should be gimmick changes. So they could revamp either one of them and push them a little harder, because the Hype Bros were kind of the second face tag team. So, you can have you have a spot for another tag team in there.
I think with the Ascension, they need to get rid of the face paint. They need to let them be the Ascension they were in NXT. Because right at the end, they just wore they just had T-shirts. They didn't have this fake Road Warrior wannabe crap. They didn't have face paint. They basically looked closer to bikers than anything else. Let them go back to that, because that's a little more believable, I think.
I completely agree.
All right, we've got one more. The main event: Bobby Roode challenging Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship. Is the title about to get glorious?
No, I think Nakamura wins the first time. I think Bobby, if you're not going to debut Nakamura at the show after Royal Rumble, there's only one place for Nakamura to debut, and that's the Raw after WrestleMania. Only place.
Agreed. Yeah,
So Rude goes over that Saturday or Friday. I think they're doing it Saturday. So Rude goes over that Saturday. Nakamura debuts that Monday.
Yeah, and I think they put it on Saturday so because there's someone else was running a show on Saturday to go against the Hall of Fame, and WWE so switched the Hall of Fame and the NXT shows to go.
And see, and the indie people love to think they have an effect on the WWE. They don't. It's the thing they didn't want to change the sets. The Hall of Fame set is different from the wrestling set, and the whole seating setup is different from the wrestling set. So what they do is, if they do Hall of Fame Friday, then they switch the set Saturday. Then it can stay that set during NXT, the Raw, and then the SmackDown.
Yeah, but it's still, okay, I can see that. There are, because the differences between the NXT set and the Raw sets, that's just more of the stage area. So
yeah. So the difference between the Hall of Fame setup and a wrestling setup is completely different. So you would go wrestling, wrestling setup, back to Hall of Fame setup, then wrestling setup again. So you would just go Hall of Fame setup and then keep the wrestling setup.
That makes sense. I'm sure there's also a little icing on the cake if they can, keep people from going to another show.
NXT sells out so quickly that it doesn't really affect the other show. They ran a show at the same time last year, and let's say you have 70,000 people there for the WrestleMania, right?
Right.
And you only have 15,000 seats at NXT.
Yeah, fair enough.
It really doesn't affect them.
Yeah, true. And no, it did a couple years ago. ROH was running a show the Saturday of SummerSlam weekend, the first NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, and when the NXT show was booked at the same time, there were people that had to decide, okay, which one am I going to go to? And
that's all on the wrestling fan. Both shows sold out.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, there you go. I stand corrected.
Oh, well, this is coming from someone that unfortunately has to make those decisions every year. Every year I have to make those decisions, from whether I'm going to the amazing indie show like they're doing this year. ROH is doing Super Card of Honor with the Young Bucks versus the Hardys playing during TakeOver. So I was like, well, if I can't get tickets to TakeOver, I have a great backup show, and TakeOver is available on the WWE Network, so I'll just watch that after I get home from the Super Card show.
Yeah, and that Supercard show is in Lakeland, Florida, where I used to live. So you could drive by my old high school if you so choose. I don't, believe me. But yeah, that's going to be pretty incredible. No, so I wonder, is Ring of Honor going to let the Hardys walk in holding the TNA titles?
Yes. They even on the promos they have the TNA belts, so they're walking in showing it as the TNA champions. The idea was that the Hardys were challenging other champions of other promotions.
Oh, that's so cool. That is.
Well, TNA is real. I mean, TNA and Anthem has to realize that the only way they can't work against each other if they're going to take on the WWE. They have to not necessarily work together, but they can't work against each other.
That is true, man. You know what's weird, though, is that show is not going to be on pay-per-view. It's not going to be streamed.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they use it for TV matches, that they show it on TV at some point.
Yeah, and I think that's the main reason the Hardys can come in with their TNA belts.
Is because it's not going to be on TV?
Yeah.
Boo, man. The biggest thing in indie wrestling, having the Hardys against the Young Bucks, and we're not even going to, anyone outside of that arena probably won't ever get to see it.
Yeah, I'm really considering going to that show instead of TakeOver.
Unless some amazing card comes out between now and then, I probably would go to that one over TakeOver.
Just because one can be watched only once, and the other one is going to be, you can watch it on the WWE Network, like right after the show ends. You can go home and watch it.
Exactly. Well, that's it for TakeOver. So that's going to be next Saturday. We'll go give our thoughts on that event next week on the show, and then we will do our Royal Rumble predictions next week. The only other thing that really happened since the last time we talked was the passing of Jimmy Snuka. Did you have any thoughts on the passing of Superfly?
All I can say is R.I.P. I don't know what happened in the 80s with that situation, but what he did for wrestling, I mean, what he meant to a lot of wrestlers. Apparently, people like Mick Foley, Bubba Ray Dudley, people like that wouldn't have been in the business if it wasn't for being inspired by Jimmy Snuka. And I have always said I don't really care what you do outside of the ring because that's your personal life and your personal business. So I'm never going to judge my wrestling opinion on what you did in your personal life. And as far as he was one of the innovators, he was one of the people that changed the wrestling game.
I'm pretty much right there with you because I can't be a huge... I can't on one hand go, Chris Benoit is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Yeah, it's horrible what he did, but my God, what he did in the ring was awesome. And then go, man, that Jimmy Snuka sucks. I can't believe he murdered somebody. Yeah, so who knows what happened in that hotel room? Obviously now we'll never know.
Yeah, it's his personal life. It's just, to me, their privacy is invaded too much as it is to this day. I mean, I know it was a murder. I know that's not like really, really personal, but I'm just saying, he's an entertainer that entertains me. You know what I'm saying? That is our relationship. That is our only relationship.
Agreed. All right, you have anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here today?
That's it. My
All
girlfriend's giving me the stare right now because. Yeah, that's all I got this week. I have a little more. Next week. I'm looking forward to the Hall of Fame subjects, and we can actually pick up our top 5 next week. That for our top 5 entrances from last week.
Yes, we can because I actually need to work on that.
Hey, you know what? I figured that was yours, and if you were ready, you would have brought it up. And I had to give me more time to be a little more scrutiny. Add a little more scrutiny to my list.
Excellent. All right. Well, we are out of here, folks. Thanks again for listening. Don't forget to check out the show online, facebook.com/AroundTheRingOK. You can tweet us at AroundTheRingOK. Follow us on the Twitter. And send emails to AroundTheRingOK@gmail.com. For Floyd Johnson, my name's Dave Brown. Thanks again for listening. Take care, guys.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And Bo Reed.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Damn! Woo!
That sucks more than anything that I've ever fucked before.
What? It's for charity.